The New York Islanders lost their third game in a row to start the season. We'll talk about what's going wrong with this team and what it'll take to fix it. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to discuss. A frustrating loss to the Winnipeg Jets on a Monday afternoon matinee. We'll have our hero and go to the game, break down our key takeaways. Plus, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the problems that this team has experienced over the first 3 games of the season and whether or not those problems are fixable. We'll also talk a little bit about milestones and misfortunes that we've seen over the early part of the season, and we have our Islanders birthday of the day. This game against the Winnipeg Jets was simultaneously really frustrating from an Islanders perspective, but it was also illustrative of the problems that this team has been going through. And initially the game gets underway and I was happy because in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game, the Islanders came up and were carrying play. And longtime fans of this team and everydayers of this podcast know how for so long the Islanders have struggled in matinees, where, the game starts in the afternoon and the team just doesn't seem to wake up and start to play well until often the game is out of reach. So you come out and you have 6 of the first 7 shots on goal, including like 3 or 4 in the very first minute of the game. And, the very first observation I made was, okay, it's the opening face-off and this team is at least ready to play. And that was great. That was refreshing. And we didn't see that Saturday against the Washington Capitals. And we really didn't see enough of it in the season opener against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But it didn't last. And essentially what ended up happening is that the Islanders reverted back to the problems that we've seen all season long, going back to last year, going back beyond last year. Let's face it, it's been a problem for too long, and because the roster has not changed over enough, the problems persist. And bing, bing, bang, boom. All of a sudden, you get to the middle of the period, and the Islanders are down 2-0. And it's the same old problems that we've been seeing. The biggest issue through 3 games and the game against Winnipeg was no different. But the biggest issue is the defense just keeps breaking down. They are just not playing positional defense. And look, there are certain guys out there that I can't say it's shocking. Tony DeAngelo, solid offensive defenseman. Defensively, no, that's his reputation. Not great in his own zone. But guys like, Alexander Romanov, who is brought in and who was just re-signed to a long-term contract, supposed to be the physical defensive guy who adds the occasional offense. He's been pretty dreadful in the first 3 games, struggling in a big way. So you get to this point, and within 4 minutes, the Islanders all of a sudden are down 2-0. You dominate the beginning of the period. Anders Lee, the captain, takes what can only be described as a dumb penalty 5 minutes into the game, 4:52. He slashes Neil Pionk. And then you get another penalty midway through the period. And all of a sudden, the game, you're down 2-0. The first goal by Morgan Barron, just a defensive breakdown. The second goal, power play goal. Power play goal. Team, look, the good news is that the Islanders outshot the Winnipeg Jets 35-25 in this game. Well, make it 26 because the last goal was an empty netter. But if you look at the quality of the shots, if you look at the shot chart, the Islanders' shots, from most of them from further away. All of the goals, 3 of them by Winnipeg, come from right in front of the net. It's defensive breakdowns more than anything that is hurting this team. Now, that being said, there's another elephant in the room. Defensive breakdowns, unfortunately, are nothing new to this team. But now you're combining defensive breakdowns with Ilya Sorokin, who is supposed to be your best player. He is your goalie. He is the guy who just a couple of years back was a second in the Vezina Trophy voting, and rightfully so, deservedly so. Well, he has not been good this year. He entered this game with a 4.21 goals against average and an .860 save percentage. And in this game, it didn't get any better. His save percentage was .840. He gave up 4 goals on 25 shots. And one of them in particular was bad. He's not playing with confidence right now. And yes, he's facing far too many high danger chances. Far too many high danger chances. Like I said, 3 of the 5 goals and the 1 empty netter you can't even worry about. So 3 of the 4 goals that were against Ilya Sorokin were scored from really in close, really high danger areas. But think back to when the New York Islanders made those trips to back-to-back conference finals in 2020 and 2021. 5 years ago already, but think back. The goaltending, regardless of who it was back then, the goaltending bailed out this team when they had defensive breakdowns. And when the Islanders win, they need their goalie. It's an old thing that we've talked about on this show last year, the year before. You want to win the way the New York Islanders have to play to win, you need your goaltending to be really good. You need the goalie to stand on his head sometimes. And when you have those defensive breakdowns, when you make those mistakes, it's not always how many saves you make. Sometimes it's how and when you make them. And this season, Ilya Sorokin has let in far too many soft goals. He himself will tell you that. He said it post-game Saturday. He has let in too many soft goals, and he has not come up with the big, timely save when the defense breaks down. Now, we are only 3 games into the season. There are 79 games left on the schedule. Sorokin has played all 3 of them. He's not worn down yet, although I am concerned. I don't want him overused. But you're now facing a situation that is lose-lose for the New York Islanders, and it's a concern. And that is this. You're 0-3. You're falling behind in the standings already. Your starting goalie has played all 3 games, and now you have to play catch-up. Don't wear down your starting goalie too early in the season. Now the Islanders, Patrick Roy is probably going to say, I'm starting Ilya Sorokin Thursday. He's going to have, Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon off. He'll have plenty of time to get ready for that 4th game in a row. And he may be right about that. But the fear is each loss makes them double down on the desperation. If you don't feel like you could trust your backup goalie, you got to get a new backup goalie. And the goaltending and the team defense have been major issues so far for this team. And I don't know if I see an easy solution for the team defense. Every day as we talked about the vulnerability of this team in its own zone. It's been worse than I thought it would be. And the Islanders need to clean this up. And we're going to talk more about that and a whole lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays to increase my odds. I've tried player props, and I've even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, place that first $5 bet, and if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel.com. Check it out today. Before we go further into these problems, and they are big problems for the New York Islanders so far, let's get to the hero and GOAT of the game. And let's talk a little bit about some of the specific things that happened in this game. Matthew Schaefer continues to impress. He had 4 shots on goal, which ties him for the team lead with Bo Horvat. He had an assist, which means he has a point in all 3 games that he's played. He had 1 block shot, 1 hit, and for the second straight game, he led all Islanders with 26 minutes and 35 seconds of ice time. Now, great to see Emil Heineman get his first goal as a New York Islander. We've been hearing about Heineman's shot and how good it is. And finally, late in the second period, we saw it. And that was encouraging, to say the least. But hero of the game, I'm going with Emil Heineman. Give him that first goal, 3 shots on goal, a +1, 4 hits, which, by the way, led the team, and 1 block shot in just 12 minutes and 11 seconds of ice time. Heineman did all right, all things considered. But go to the game, I hate to do it. I'm going with Anders Lee. He was a -2. The penalty that he took kind of turned the momentum of the game. He only had 1 shot on goal, 1 hit in 15, almost 16 minutes of ice time. He is your captain. You need more from the captain. You need leadership. You need to have a guy who is going to lead by example. And unfortunately, it was his mistake that kind of led to things going off the rails. Now, he's not alone in having had a bad game. I mean, so many players did not play up to the standards that you want to see. But I'm going with Lee for a reason. He's the captain. He's the leader. His mistake changed the momentum of the game early. He did not play well throughout, but he's the guy you need when things go a little wrong. He's the guy you need to lead the team, to help turn them around. We haven't seen it from him. I want to see more from the captain, Anders Lee. Getting back to the big picture issues, though, we talked about the bad defense. We talked about the goaltending not being up to standard. But there's more than that. When the Islanders, again, going back 5 years, when they were going to back-to-back conference final, one thing that everybody said about the New York Islanders back then, it's not that long ago, but one thing that everybody said about this team, they are difficult to play against. Well, guess what? They are not difficult to play against right now. They just aren't. And I understand Patrick Waugh wants a more up-tempo style of play. I get it. That's the way he wants the game played. And yet the problem, and again, we're only 3 games in, this is a problem I think that can indeed be potentially fixed. But the problem is he doesn't have the roster that is ideally suited to that style. And now you come into a question like this. The coach wants to play a certain style. He doesn't have necessarily the talent to do that. What do? Do you adjust your style to fit the talent that you've got? Or do you keep trying to get the guys that you've got on the roster to play the way you ideally want them to play? I think we're getting to the point where Patrick Waugh needs to modify the up-tempo desire and say, you know what? We don't have the depth and speed and offensive finishing power that we need to play the way I would like them to play. And I think, the addition of Matthew Schaefer is a double-edged sword. It's fantastic, right? You see this player who has so much talent on the Islanders roster. But it also tells you the lack of talent elsewhere on the roster. In that Schaefer has elite ability. He's not an elite player yet, but he has elite ability. Do any other Islanders players reach that threshold? And the answer is no right now. And, there's some good or very good players, some pretty good players, but elite players, guys with elite skills, maybe you could say Mathew Barzal's skating is elite, but other aspects of his game are not. But you can't play the up-tempo style that Patrick Roy likes to play because this team is not built to win games 6-5. They don't have the offensive firepower. And it seems to me that when you've got a roster the way the Islanders have their roster right now, and this is still roster-wise, mostly guys brought in by and kept here by Lou Lamoriello, you've got to play a more defense-first style. And they're not doing that. And again, in all 3 games this season, the Islanders have had plenty of chances to score, but they can't finish. Why? Because they don't have enough finishers on this roster. You don't have, maybe Bo Horvat is a 30-goal guy. Kyle Palmieri has scored 30 goals in his career, but at this stage in his career, I would say on this team, that's highly unlikely. There are no snipers on this team. There are no finishers on this team. If you're going to win consistently with this roster, you probably need to be more conservative offensively and more physical defensively, but that's not how this roster is built to play offensive hockey. They are more built for the defensive game. They're kind of in neither category right now, though. And that is a problem. What is the identity of this team right now? I can't tell you after 3 games. It's got to change. They've got to figure out who they want to be and then become that team. And right now, they're not defensive. They're not great offensively. They're not great defensively. It's a problem. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll keep breaking down some of the early season problems. We'll talk about a great milestone that was reached in this game. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a goalie better known for his time with Minnesota and Edmonton, who played for the Islanders in the late 2000s and very early 2000 teens. All that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I love how if you share accounts with a significant other, Monarch can help you both stay on the same page. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONNHL. Let's go back to a little happy news. Congratulations are in order to Casey Cizikas. He has now played in his 900th 100th career NHL game. So congratulations to Casey Cizikas again. To reach a milestone like that for a guy who spent nearly all of his career on the fourth line, it's not easy. It's impressive. And congratulations are definitely in order. Again, getting back to the problems this team is having, we'll go to an email from a listener, Mike from Oyster Bay. Hi, Gil. I would like to talk about the Islanders' special teams, or shall I say, unspecial teams. It's getting very frustrating to watch the Islanders outplay the opposition 5-on-5, only to lose the game because we can't score a power play goal or kill penalties on a consistent basis. I can understand why the Isles can struggle on the power play when you compare them to teams that they do not have top-end talent to be a 25% power play unit. What I don't get is why the penalty kill is so horrible. There's no excuse for this. We have J.G. Pageau. We have Casey Cizikas, Simon Holmstrom, Sorokin in net. I guess my question to you is how or what can the Islanders do to at least get their penalty kill to the middle of the pack in the NHL? Thank you, Mike from Oyster Bay. Mike, thanks so much for the question. Look, the personnel is there. I can make the argument that Casey Cizikas is kind of slowing down at this stage in his career, but J.G. Pageau, Simon Holmstrom, they are a very good duo, and Cizikas should still be a solid penalty killer, but he hasn't done it. And special teams, again, in this game, Monday afternoon against Winnipeg, hurt the Islanders again. And it is so frustrating. They're 0 for 5 on the power play and let in one power play goal on the PK in 3 tries. And remember, Saturday, there was a goal scored, 2 or 3 seconds or 6 seconds after a power play ended that wasn't technically a power play goal, but it kind of really was set up by the other team, by the Capitals power play. It's got to be coaching, but more than anything else, killing penalties is an attitude. Killing penalties requires, more than anything, hard work and just making good decisions. And I think part of the problem with the way this team is doing things is they're not working as hard as they need to on the PK, and they're not making good decisions. And I think, you mentioned 3 forwards who should be solid on the PK, and they more or less are. But I think the defense, the positioning of the defense, unfortunately, Ryan Pollock and Adam Pelech are not what they were 5 years ago. Alexander Romanov is off to a slow start. Scott Mayfield is not fleet of foot at this stage in his career. And Tony DeAngelo is just not good defensively. And Matthew Schaefer is inexperienced defensively, although he's sound positionally. I don't necessarily want him out on the PK. But I think defense, the blue line aspect of it, at least this year, has been a real reason. And special teams, this is something that we talked about all offseason, all of last year. Every dayers, before the season started, I was saying, hey, get me to below average. Get me into the high teens in penalty kill and power play. Get me 19th, 18th out of 32 teams. Doesn't look that optimistic right now. They've got to straighten it out. So thank you so much to Mike from Oyster Bay, and hopefully we'll see some improvement somewhere along the line. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. And, Sunday was the 56th birthday of former Islanders goalie Dwayne Roloson. Roley, 6'1", 180 pounds, played at UMass Lowell, made his NHL debut in 96-97 for the Calgary Flames, later played for the Sabres, the Wild, the Edmonton Oilers, and then joined the Islanders for the 2009-2010 season, started the 2010-2011 season on the island, and then got traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Roloson played in 606 NHL games, had a career goals against average of 2.72, and a career save percentage of 9.08. One of his better games with the Islanders, December 29th, 2009 at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Columbus Blue Jackets come to town. Steve Mason, the goalie for the Blue Jackets. Dwayne Rolison, obviously the goalie for the Islanders. Islanders took a 1-0 lead on a goal by Josh Bailey, but midway through the third period, R.J. Umberger tied it for Columbus. The game goes to a shootout, and the Islanders get the win when Rob Schremp scores in the third round, and then Rolison stops Fedor Tutin and clinches the win. Islanders outshot in this game by a margin of 42-25, but 41 saves by Roley the goalie get the Islanders the win. So Dwayne Rolison is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL, both on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, send us an email. It's lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR vs NYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's always great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We will have our first farm report of the season as Bridgeport's season is underway. We'll also have the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. Oh, one other thing that we didn't get to real quick. Cal Ritchie sent down to Bridgeport. He's healthy again, so that's official. No big shock there. Everydayers, we will be back tomorrow. Make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Hope everyone enjoyed the holiday, both in the U.S. and Canada. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.